I stared at my bank account, and my stomach literally dropped. The balance was exactly $14,280 lower than it was 6 months ago. I hadn't bought a single luxury. I hadn't gone on vacation. I had eaten the same cheap, bland meals for years. I did everything the internet told me to do to get rich. Or so I thought. But being frugal didn't protect me. In fact, my obsession with saving money was the exact reason I just lost $15,000. Hi, I'm Daniel Brooks, and you're watching Wealthic Voyage. Today, we're diving into the dark side of personal finance, the illusion of frugality, and the $15,000 mistake that completely rewired my understanding of money. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right with your money, but you're still just barely treading water? Like, you're skipping the $6 lattes, you're clipping coupons, you're wearing shoes with holes in the bottom because they still work, yet your net worth isn't actually growing. Why is that? Why do so many of us obsess over cutting back, only to find ourselves exhausted and broke? Let me answer that for you. Because we've been sold a lie. We've been told that the path to wealth is simply spending less, but saving money doesn't make you rich. It just makes you less poor. And sometimes, if you're not careful, it makes you incredibly vulnerable. Let me take you back to a few years ago. I was the king of frugal. I was the guy who would drive an extra 15 minutes out of his way just to save 3 cents a gallon on gas. I was the guy who would sit at a restaurant with friends, order a side of fries and a tap water, and mentally judge everyone else for ordering a $15 burger. I thought I was financially superior. I thought I was playing 4D chess while everyone else was playing checkers. I had a budget spreadsheet that would make an accountant weep. Every single dollar was accounted for. But here's the question I never asked myself. What was all this sacrifice actually for? I was treating money like it was a scarce resource that was about to run out, and when you operate from a place of scarcity, your brain literally starts functioning differently. Psychology tells us that when we constantly restrict ourselves, we build up willpower fatigue. Have you ever been on a super strict diet, and after 2 weeks, you end up eating an entire pizza at 2 a.m.? Money works the exact same way. Let me give you a real-life example of how this plays out. Because of my extreme frugality, I refused to buy myself a winter coat one year. I had a jacket from high school. It was thin, it was ugly. But hey, I'm saving $100. Well, winter hits. I'm freezing. I'm miserable. My quality of life drops significantly. And what happens? My brain rebels. I'm walking through a mall one day, freezing cold, feeling sorry for myself, and I see an electronics store. I ended up walking out with a $600 laptop I didn't even need. I put it on a credit card. Think about the psychology of that for a second. I refused to spend $100 to be warm and comfortable, a legitimate need, because I was being frugal. But because I deprived myself of that basic comfort, my willpower broke, and I spent $600 on an impulsive want, using high-interest debt to do it. This is the frugal trap. You save pennies on the things that actually bring you value, and then you blow dollars on things that don't, just to feel something. And this leads into the next piece of the puzzle. Debt. When you are hyper-frugal, you often ignore the big picture. You might be proud that you paid an extra $50 toward your credit card this month because you skipped a few movies. But if you're ignoring the fact that you have a 24% APR on that card because you won't sit down and do a balance transfer, you're literally setting money on fire while proudly holding on to a few dollar bills. Being cheap blinds you to systemic financial leaks. You argue with a customer service rep for an hour to get a $10 refund on a streaming service, but you don't realize you're paying $150 a month in bank fees and insurance premiums that you could negotiate down in 10 minutes. But all of this? The cheap jacket, the impulse laptop, the misplaced priorities, that was just the setup. That was just the foundation I built before the house completely collapsed. Let's talk about the $15,000 mistake. At the time this happened, I needed a vehicle. My old car had finally died a painful death. Now, any reasonable person would look at their budget, look at their savings, and maybe take out a modest, reasonable auto loan with a low interest rate to get a reliable used car. But not me. I had read the financial blogs. Never take out a loan for a depreciating asset, they screamed. Debt is evil. Pay cash for everything. So, what did I do? I found a 15-year-old SUV on Facebook Marketplace. The guy was asking $4,000. It had rust on the wheel wells, the check engine light was on. But in my frugal, scarcity-driven mind, I saw a bargain. I thought, I'll just fix it myself. I'm saving so much money by not getting a loan. I drained my emergency fund to buy this hunk of junk. I drove it off the lot, and immediately, the problem started. First week, $400 for new brake pads and rotors. Second week, the alternator dies. $600. Third month, the suspension is shot. $200. Do you see what's happening here? I was so obsessed with avoiding a $300 a month car payment, which, by the way, is a totally normal, manageable expense for most people, that I was bleeding thousands of dollars in unpredictable, chaotic lump sums. But here is where the true money psychology kicks in. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. By month 4, I had already put about $3,000 of repairs into a $4,000 car. A mechanic sat me down and said, "Look, the transmission is slipping. It's going to cost about $5,000 to fix it. You shouldn't do it. This car isn't worth it. Any rational person would sell the car for scrap, take the loss, and go get a reliable vehicle. But my brain couldn't handle it. I had already invested so much time, so much stress, and so much money into this frugal decision. If I admitted defeat, it meant my entire philosophy on money was wrong. It meant I wasn't the smart finance guy I thought I was. So, I doubled down. I didn't have $5,000. My emergency fund was gone, but I had a credit card with a 0% introductory APR for 12 months. I told myself, I'll put the transmission on the credit card. I'll pay it off aggressively over the next year. It's basically free money. Raise your hand if you've ever told yourself that exact same lie with a credit card. Pause. We all have. I put the $5,000 transmission repair on the card. The car ran great for about 3 weeks. Then, the engine block cracked, completely unfixable. The car was dead. I had to pay $200 to have it towed to a junkyard, where they handed me a check for $300 for the scrap metal. Let's do the math on my frugal decision. $4,000 purchase price, $3,000 in prior repairs, $5,000 transmission, minus $300 scrap value. That is $11,700 in pure cash, gone. Vanished. But wait, the story doesn't end there, because I still had that $5,000 sitting on a credit card. Remember, it was 0% for 12 months. I had every intention of paying it off. But because my emergency fund was completely wiped out, life happened. A medical bill popped up. I had to put it on the card. My car insurance went up. I had to put it on the card. Before I knew it, the 12 months were up. The 0% introductory rate expired, and that $5,000 balance suddenly shot up to a 27% interest rate. I was drowning. I was making minimum payments, and almost all of it was going straight to interest. By the time I finally managed to pay that card off by working a side job delivering pizzas on weekends, the total cost of that interest, combined with the original repairs, pushed my total loss on that single, frugal decision to over $15,000. $15,000. All because I was too proud and too cheap to take out a $300 a month auto loan. Have you ever made a decision like that, where you were so focused on saving a few bucks that you completely missed the financial freight train heading right for you? It took me a long time to forgive myself for that, but looking back, it was the best $15,000 I ever lost, because it shattered my entire worldview on personal finance. I realized that I wasn't actually managing my money. My money was managing me. I was a slave to my budget. I was letting a fear of spending dictate my life choices, and ironically, that fear cost me more money than I ever could have saved. So, what is the alternative? If extreme frugality isn't the answer, what is? The answer is value-based spending, combined with offensive wealth building. Let's break this down simply. There are 2 ways to improve your financial life: defense and offense. Defense is cutting coupons, skipping lattes, and buying cheap shoes that fall apart in 2 months. Defense has a hard limit. You cannot save your way to $1 million if you only make $50,000 a year. The math simply doesn't work. Offense is increasing your income. investing in assets that appreciate, and spending money intentionally on things that give you a return on investment, whether that's a financial return or a massive return in your mental health, time, and energy. Let's go back to the shoe example. This is a classic finance parable, but it's so true. You can buy a $40 pair of cheap boots. They hurt your feet, they look bad, and they fall apart after one winter. Next winter, you buy another pair for $45. Over 5 years, you spend $225, and your feet hurt the entire time. Or you can spend $200 on a high-quality pair of boots. They look great, they support your feet, and they last 10 years. Which one is the frugal choice? The $40 boots or the $200 boots? The $200 boots are actually cheaper over a decade. But more importantly, they don't cause you pain every single day. Pain that drains your energy, makes you miserable at work, and leads to you spending money on impulse, buys to feel better. That is value-based spending. You aren't just looking at the price tag. You are looking at the cost per use, the quality of life it provides, and the long-term financial impact. Let's apply this to investing. When I was hoarding cash to pay for that terrible car, that money was sitting in a standard checking account, earning exactly 0.00% interest. It was losing value to inflation every single day. I was so afraid of the stock market. I thought it was just gambling. I thought I could lose money in the market. I need to keep my cash safe. Meanwhile, I literally drove my cash into a junkyard and set it on fire. I was so afraid of a hypothetical 20% market drop that I guaranteed myself a 100% loss on a depreciating asset. When you understand this, your relationship with money changes forever. You stop asking, how can I avoid spending this $100? And you start asking, what is the absolute best use of this $100 to improve my life over the next 5 years? Sometimes the best use is to invest it in an S&P 500 index fund. Historically, that money doubles every 7 to 10 years. That is offensive finance. Your money is out there working for you while you sleep. Sometimes the best use is to buy a course that teaches you a high-income skill. Spending $500 on a certification that gets you a $10,000 a year raise is the highest return on investment you will ever find. And sometimes the best use is to just buy the $15 burger with your friends. Because human connection, joy, and mental health are the foundational pillars that give you the energy to go out and earn more money in the first place. If you are sitting there right now, feeling guilty about a purchase you made, or feeling exhausted because you've been restricting yourself for years, I need you to hear this. Your financial life is not a moral test. You are not a bad person if you buy the name brand cereal. You are not a failure if you decide to hire someone to mow your lawn so you can spend that 2 hours relaxing with your kids or building a side business. Money is a tool, nothing more, nothing less. A hammer is completely useless if you just lock it in a drawer and stare at it. It only has value when you take it out and use it to build something. When I lost that $15,000, I felt like I had been punched in the gut. But eventually, I realized that my extreme frugality was just a mask for a deeper fear. I was afraid that I wasn't capable of earning more money. I didn't believe in my own ability to generate wealth, so I clung to every penny like my life depended on it. Once I let go of that fear, everything changed. I started investing. I started focusing on my career and my income. I started spending money on things that actually made my life better, and I stopped spending money on things that didn't. So, what is the ultimate takeaway here? What is the life lesson that you can write down on a sticky note and put on your mirror today? It is this: protecting your money is important, but multiplying your money is how you actually build wealth. Stop playing defense. Stop obsessing over the pennies while the dollars are slipping through your fingers. Look at your life right now. Where are you being penny-wise and pound-foolish? Are you neglecting your health to save on gym memberships? Are you wasting hours of your time to save a few dollars when you could be investing that time into earning more? Shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Stop asking how you can spend less and start asking how you can earn more, invest better, and live a life that actually feels good. Because at the end of the day, what is the point of having a fat bank account if you spent the last 10 years miserable, cold, and driving a car that breaks down on the highway? True wealth is having the freedom to spend your time and your resources on the things that matter most to you. And you cannot get there by being cheap. You only get there by being intentional. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this story shifted your perspective even a little bit, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and share this video with a friend who might be stuck in the frugal trap. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and spend your life wisely.